Well, hi everyone, this is Caroline,
And this is Kurt.
and welcome to our podcast, The Business of.
Christmas.
Hey Kurt, how are you doing? It
I'm doing well, Caroline.
seems like a long time since we've actually done a podcast, right?
It has. I think it was January, or maybe end of February when we interviewed Rich Bianco with Transworld Christmas Show.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
And obviously, it's been anybody in our business knows it's been an interesting year, which we're not going to go into details, but there was lots of things happening within our industry and within world industry, especially for importing. And I think we've all had to work twice as hard this year to get the same results of where we are right now. Correct?
Oh, I would say absolutely, right? We have more clarity now where tariffs are at. That's helped. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
say we're back on track after, understanding where we sit. Customers we don't make those decisions and move forward. So
Yeah.
it's been good from that perspective.
Yeah.
Market was good.
Yeah, well, we let out a loud cheer because about 2 hours ago we had our last container arrive, and we normally have them all in by the end of June. So here it is, first week of August. But we're celebrating because at one point we didn't think we were going to get all of our containers, and we have everything. So today is a good day, and it's a good day
Absolutely.
because we're
Yeah.
recording a new podcast.
Sure,
Mm,
absolutely. I
mm,
think from my perspective, Vickerman does have the majority of their containers now. We just have a few that are not in, and so that just looks fantastic from my perspective.
yeah.
We're shipping products. We're just waiting for a few items to fill a couple of orders here and there to get them filled so we can get them out the door. But otherwise, we're doing really well.
Yeah, I think we're all in a much better place than we thought that we'd be. So, which is great. So, what are we going to be talking about today, Kurt? I'm excited about this one.
Sure, we've been excited about this probably all year long. Um, So our plan was right after February talk about Christmas World. Carol and I, as you know, were going. We talk about it all the time. We did go in 25 at the end of January, 1st of February. Great trip, and we're going to talk about what that was like and recommendations for 26 if you want to go and things you need to consider.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that, in fact, I had somebody in the Christmas business come by our office yesterday out of Dallas, and we were talking about it to her, and she didn't know about it at all. And there's a lot of people that don't even know about it, and I think the ones that know about it always have so many questions, like, well, why do you go, and can you purchase from there, and all of that good stuff. So hopefully, what we'll be doing over the next hour is answering a lot of those questions and maybe some people watching this will make a decision on whether they're going to move forward and go, right? So,
Sure, absolutely. I think what comes to mind for me is why would somebody want to go, right? From your perspective, Caroline,
mm,
I have mine, and what's yours? Why would somebody even want to consider going to Christmas World in
well,
26?
let's talk about what it is right now. First of all, it's
Sure.
it's it's the it's the biggest leading Christmas international fair in the world, basically. And I think a lot of people think it's just going to be Christmas, and in fact, it's not. There's three fairs that run simultaneously. Just to kind of give you an idea of what this part, it's in Frankfurt, Germany, and to give you an idea of what that looks like, it's kind of like a little town inside a big city. So you go through one of maybe three or four main entrances, but when you get in there, there's a lot of different buildings, right, Kurt? Now,
Yes, there is.
some of them are connected, some aren't, but you can walk from one to another, but they do provide shuttles. That's how big it is. So you can get on a bus and go to another building. And it's all very well mapped out. And it's, each building has several different floors. And so obviously I go for the Christmas fair, and it's Christmas, floral, gift. So if you kind of compare it to probably Atlanta and Dallas, it's kind of similar, but not really, because it's much, much larger.
I would
Um,
say it's much larger. You also have vendors from factories and the factory floor from around the world, and so it's a little different from that perspective as well.
For
Um,
sure, for sure. I personally don't go to purchase. Having said that, I know a lot of people that have business here in the States do go there to purchase. And we'll touch on that later, whether how easy it is and whether it's worth it and all of that good stuff. But for me personally, the first time I went, I just went to see what it was all about, right? And then, you get like like locked in because you want to go every year. And so for me, it's looking at like availability trends of what's happening. It's very much like the fashion world, right? Fashion tends to start in Europe, in Milan and Paris and London, and then it slowly comes over to the US. And it's the same with Christmas decor, I think, and home furnishings as well. That you see things that are not sometimes available over here yet. So it's really looking kind of forward for 3 years at what's going to be available here in the US, whether it be color trends or lighting trends. I think lighting is, and we can touch on that later, but huge. So for me, it's looking for trends. Also, I see a lot of, I mean, I've met people that have turned out to be great customers for me. So it's a great area to network as well, for sure. And then also find out companies that you've never ever heard about that possibly you can be working on a job and now know there's another vendor outside of going to Dallas or going to Atlanta. So I think that's the reason for me to go.
Sure. I think, and maybe you said this, you did touch on it, but inspiration, right? I was looking through all my images before we jumped on and just to remind myself all the beautiful things we saw. And I'm thinking, gosh, I took a picture of that. There's so much, you can't
Yeah.
remember everything, but there's so much inspiration when you even look back on those photos. Some of the ornaments you didn't see here. You may see a version of something, but there were
Mm-hmm.
more options there than I've seen in the market centers. Everybody's limited on what they can buy. They have to pick and choose. They put themes together, and not everybody's going to choose those same themes. And so you're going to see different. You could see different things at Christmas World. In fact, I believe you do. And I
Oh,
think
for
they
sure.
do larger displays as well. Because they
Mm-hmm.
have space to do the larger displays that you can't see in the showrooms here in
Mm-hmm.
the States because they just don't have the space to do that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
from that perspective, you get some really cool design ideas from
Mm-hmm.
that, whatever they're putting together that's maybe it's not terribly unique in that you might find something similar in the US, but the way they put it together is very unique because
Mm-hmm.
it's just a different perspective.
Yeah. I think the other word to use is educational too. Anybody like us that is in commercial holiday decor field, as a career, it's so educational. Just speaking to the vendors or like you said, even talking to the owners of the factories from directly from China or, Eastern Europe or, Philippines or wherever they're from. I think that's like super interesting. I've learned so much more about product and how it's made since I've been going, and understanding that back end, which is really
Sure.
important. So,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, as you said, you're not buying from those factories, but you go for the inspiration to understand what you are buying. You get a
Hmm.
better idea of what's happening
Yeah.
and what those issues are. But I mean, it's just a great experience from my perspective. Just
Hmm.
getting to know those vendors on their turf, visiting them after the show if you have that sort of time. It's a great time to go visit factories if you're already there, if that's something you'd like to do. There are opportunities to do that with some of the vendors. And that's just, a great
Hmm.
idea to be able to do that too. I think the education, there's probably more there than we've explored, Caroline, and we can jump, we'll dig into that
For
at
sure.
some point. But there are some things you can do throughout the year to understand the color trends of 26 and what that looks
Hmm.
like. The color trends have already been established here in the U.S. as far as what's at market. You're seeing some inspiration from the past year at Christmas World, even in some of the designs and product that do come in later in the year. You start to see that creep in, but they'll be on the cutting edge of whatever that new trend is. They'll obviously have the things that are. As I was looking back at my trends, you have the greens and reds, the traditional colors. Then you have the area where we saw where it was all lavender, if that's the color you would call it. I'm not sure, but it's all of a kind of a pinkish purple. Uh, I mean, just very unusual. It wasn't on our radar, I don't think, as far as a color to be using for the
Yeah, it's
holiday.
a trend, and God, I need to. I feel like I want to pick my phone up and say, but I think it's called Yasami. It's the Yasami trend, and it's where colors are, even though they're colors that we know, they're made to look kind of almost like an ashy tone, and that's. I think it's Yasami. I'm going to confirm that later on, but I think it's Yasami. So let's talk about getting there, right? A lot of people
Sure.
go, man, going to Europe, I'm speaking to people that maybe have not been to Europe before. Let's talk about, and I know, I fly from San Antonio, you fly from Dallas. We often meet at DFW, right, and fly together. So, prices is going to be different depending on where you are. But let's talk about getting there. Obviously, we have to fly, right? So
Yeah.
What's your recommendations, Kurt?
So my recommendation is find a direct flight if you can. There's not a lot of cities that do. And what Carol and I found out about 26 is there's not any direct flights on American, for example. There may be a German airline, right, that's going direct. There may be one flight, but that's changed in 26. Previously, those have all been available for direct. I don't know if they'll add a route, but that's not on the schedule that we're looking at now. But I start to plan and book my flight in August.
For sure.
September would be probably the latest. Those costs are just going to go up. Those tickets, they're not going to come down from my perspective. And if they do, you can get a credit. I've never seen it come down though, not on the flights.
No, it does, and you're right. If you're not booked by the end of September, you are going to see the price, and it's like the same with anything if you're traveling internationally, right? I think last year I paid maybe 1,100, maybe something like that, to get there, and that was from San Antonio to DFW and a direct flight. Just so people know, when you fly over to Europe, you are generally flying overnight, so you will get to Frankfurt early in the morning. Like, I think our flight normally gets in at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. One thing that I certainly recommend is the show opens on the Thursday. Try and get there on, the show opens on the Friday, I apologize. Try and get there on the Thursday morning and give yourself a little breathing space. A couple of years, I actually went from the airport straight to the show, and that's really, really hard if you've been on an overnight flight. You don't really feel refreshed, and I don't get jet lag. I don't believe in jet lag, but it's a little much. If you've got the time, take that extra day, go check in, shower, keep yourself awake, then go to bed, at a decent time, and then go start the show afresh on Friday. So I know that you've done that too, and I think if you can afford that extra day, it's definitely worth it.
I think your time is better served to do that. I mean, you're rested when you go into the show. You can spend 2.5 days at the show, and you get really, it's more quality time there if you get that day of rest. Otherwise, you'll need to stay longer. So I don't think you're going to save money. I think you should go in early, arrive that day before, start fresh the next morning, as close to fresh the next morning, because you're still going to be adjusting. But it's still the best approach. At least we've done it the last 2 years, and it's worked really great.
Yeah.
Because you're dead tired that first day, right?
Yeah.
You just are.
So I guess then the other thing is, how long do you go for, right? So I've done a 2-day and I've done a 3-day. I personally recommend a 3-day. I think by the 3rd day, you're kind of done. And it depends the reason for going. If you're going there just to build content for social media, you'll definitely need 3 days. But your first day, I know from my experience, the first time I went, you'd been, I think, the year before. So it was great because I had you as a guide, if you will. But it's so overwhelming. It takes a while to navigate your way around there, which buildings are for what, where the commercial is, over the retail, over the Chinese factory. So your first day is really kind of a wander around like a little lost child in a toy store, right? And then I think you can plan better for your second or third. What do you think? 3 days, 2, 4? What do you think?
I think 3 days is perfect. 2.5, you're going to knock it out probably, but you may want to go back to something and look at it again. Some content you didn't capture for inspiration that you'd like to have. It gives you an opportunity to absorb all that because you're seeing so much. There's things I don't even remember, but I did capture an image because I thought that's something I want to capture. And you and I went back the last day, I think the half day on the 2.5 days, and captured more of the things that we had seen that we didn't get previously. You're just not going to until you really think about it. You're going to look at it and go, gosh, I didn't get what I wanted. You're going to have an opportunity to see those people that you know in the industry that are there too, and have that opportunity to network when you're there those 2.5 days. You don't want to rush in after a long flight. I think it's 9 hours. Isn't approximately 9 hours?
It was a 9-hour direct, but for other people, depending where
it could be longer, right? 15. I know 11, if it's connected, it could be 14 or 15 hours. Yeah. I think what I looked at was 14 to 15 hours on the connection through from DFW to Charlotte to Frankfurt. So it's a long travel schedule. So at the end of the day, you want to spend that time there. There's no
Mhm.
reason to rush it. The cost of the tickets are not very much. It is a 5 day show. I know we want to make sure we cover that. I believe it ends on the Tuesday after, just 5 days later.
Mhm.
Um, and it does slow down. So if you want to go towards the end, you could. However, you're going to see more of those have those networking opportunities in the beginning, probably
Yeah. Yeah.
over the first few days of the show. Would what I would recommend, and then you can get back
Mm.
to your life or work or whatever you need to do back in the States.
Mm.
So it gives you that opportunity. You are going to have to take, I would suggest, 5 days at a minimum, going, coming back, that sort of thing. I know you go to London. I've taken some trips afterwards, but if you're coming straight back, it is tough. You got to give yourself a couple extra days.
Yeah. I mean, I highly suggest, we both know a lot of people that go, right? And the majority end up taking like a small vacation afterwards, right? Whether I know you've been down to Austria and Switzerland skiing, I always go back to the UK and go home for a few days because it's a 50-minute flight from Frankfurt into London
Right.
for me. So it makes sense while I'm in Europe to do that.
Right.
But and a lot of people go, well, why would I go to Europe in February? It's kind of cold and stuff like that. But hey, if you're a skier, you've got some phenomenal, but even in Germany, you can go and ski, right? And to
You can.
even rent a car and drive down to the Black Forest, there's definitely some amazing trips that you can do, and even day trips if you rent a car. I know a lot of people that have gone outside Frankfurt and gone to some of the big, beautiful German castles and just, or, a brewery or experienced other things. So, if you can make an extra trip by taking a spouse with you or
Right.
friends or
Right.
but some people just travel by themselves too, so
I recommend doing it. I've traveled by myself while I was there. I've done both. So I recommend staying those few extra days just to go, maybe it's 3, and go somewhere to see something that you want to see. Our first visit, Caroline, I actually went the first time with you. You met me over there. I was already there for a few days, but we went to Greece to see and did a factory visit. But then we went, we saw Athens and we did some other things. Most of it was business, frankly, at that particular trip. That's why you and I wanted to go back and have the schedule we wanted. I think when we went back the next
it
time.
was all business, but having said that, there was a 3-hour block where we could, like when we were in Athens, we could physically go somewhere and kind of be tourists,
Right.
right? So I
Right. We
think that's
experienced Athens, at least the tourist area, and we enjoyed doing that. So
Mhm.
I highly recommend it. But that's just, it depends on what your schedule
Yeah,
allows.
yeah, for sure. So, hotels, where are we going to stay? Because that, for me, is like one of the. I think it's easy to get a flight, but staying is yeah. There's a lot of choice, and there's some good, and there's some bad, and there's some really ugly. And you've done some really ugly, I think, at one time. You learned your lesson fast, right? Was it an Airbnb, I think, where you had?
Right. It was through a different service than Airbnb, but it was
Oh,
similar to right, a homestay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Pictures look great. Didn't look like the pictures. There's really no recourse. You're in the space.
yeah,
Frankly, I enjoyed, just made the most of it, had a great trip at the end of the day.
yeah,
And so it is somewhat of an adventure. But if you go to a brand or a hotel with the reviews you're looking for, at the price point you're looking for, you're going to have a good experience.
mm,
I think it's a little more questionable when it's a home rental or something like that on
yeah,
Airbnb. It's just not as predictable there, I think, was my experience. But I would highly recommend, if your budget only allows for that and you need a number of people in your
yeah.
space, by all means do that. But you're going to spend, I mean, they're not going to be cheap necessarily to
No.
get the space you need for a number of people. But for us, I think, was it 350 a night? It's about the average. Maybe that's with or without tax. That's euros, not dollars.
That's euros.
Um,
So yeah,
mhm,
you're looking to say somewhere that's decent in a safe part of town, because there's some not so safe. You're looking
mhm,
at least $400 plus a night. So that's
mhm.
something to take into account. There's not any, $120 specials. There's really not, even if you book now. And it's because you think of, I don't know how many people come to this show, probably 100,000. I'm guessing. I don't know. It's a lot of people because of the other shows as well. And so the hotels put all their pricing up, right? So there's that to look at. Yeah, so the show itself is somewhere that's called Messe Frankfurt, and it's like an area of Frankfurt, and it's about a 15-minute Uber drive outside the center of Frankfurt, and the center being like where all the stores are, and where you can walk shop to shop, and it's great. I mean, there's no leaves on the tree because it's cold, right? but I find myself personally that's a nicer area. And I know because we don't always stay in the same hotels. Sometimes we're around the corner from each other, but we tend to stay in that central area because if you go and stay over by where the show is, they do have a lot of big, they've got the Western and they've got the big Marriotts and
Sure.
everything there. And you can get special rates, and we'll talk about that. But having said that, once you're there in the evening, your choices for restaurants and things to do is actually limited because then you're going to have to get an Uber into the city center. I prefer staying in the city
Right.
center and Ubering, which is what is the Uber, like 10 minutes away, maybe something like that?
Maybe 10 minutes. It's really quick. So it's interesting is there's probably a Westin close to that venue or Marriott, and then we're at there's another one. This when we say city center, it's I mean there's all the high end shopping is close by. There's restaurants. It's really nice, and it's all walking area that we're
For
talking
sure.
about. So
Yeah.
we enjoyed that sort of stay probably more so than being right across from the
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
I'd highly recommend doing that. You just have to plan your cars, planning your taxi and where to pick that up.
Mm.
Or if you call an Uber, you have to have some time. You have to just consider all of that because it's rush
Mhm.
hour when you're trying to get out of there.
Yeah, and there's public transport, which is great. Personally, there's the underground. We haven't used that. There's buses that you can jump on. We just haven't. I just it's not that I don't mind using public transport if I'm in a city I know. I just don't know Frankfurt that well. But you're right, getting an Uber there is super easy. When you come out from the afternoon, it is, just be prepared to wait because you've got thousands and thousands of people coming out at the same time. So, leave a little early or plan to leave a little later. But just know, grabbing a cab or an Uber is a little bit more of a challenge in the evening when the show closes, which
Right.
is 6 o'clock every night. So for me, I think the last 2 years or 3 years I stayed in a Moxie. Anybody knows it's part of a Marriott. Moxie is a little bit more of a basic hotel, but I get a free breakfast, free Wi-Fi. It's clean, it's nice, and I can literally walk out and 2 minutes I'm away from an indoor mall and then all of the like outside shopping area. And it feels very safe. It's a good community. And I know I've stayed in a higher end Western, so of you. And that's in that same area too, but it was just probably another couple of $100 a night more, right? So you
Yeah, it's interesting that you would say that. So I did do some research in anticipation of our talk, and if you go on to the service now they're offering through the fair website, you can navigate that from going, go to their website, go to visiting, and there's a section for travel or accommodations, I believe is what it's called.
right?
You link into that, you can. It's very similar to what you find for Dallas Market or America's Mart when you're booking a hotel. A very similar service. And what I found was that, for example, the Westin is the same price as we would pay for the Moxie.
Oh, wow.
However, it could be a twin bed or a double. It doesn't say. If you want the king, then you're paying another $100 or $200 for
Mm,
that space. Same, larger bed but similar room.
mm,
So I think it's a little known what kind of room you can end up with because you'll have a single potentially, and so the bed. I don't want to stay in a twin, right? So for me, I couldn't navigate that. It didn't make sense. But for everything else, it looked very similar in cost. So I wasn't sure if some of the European brands, I don't follow them, but wasn't sure if they were maybe a better deal. So I'm not sure their site is as good of a deal as you would find in the States when you're using the sites for
yeah.
um, the Market Center, Dallas Market, and America's Mart. So I wasn't sure if I would recommend it, but we're going to do some more research and do some checks because generally you can find the rates are sometimes almost half in the States versus what you book directly on my app for Marriott. You're
For
still going to
sure.
get points for the stay. You're still going to get your status. You're
Right.
just booking through their service. So I think that you definitely want to do your research, decide what you're comfortable spending. But Carolina, I mean, Moxie is like the bottom of the, like that's, I wouldn't
That
recommend.
bad, Kurt. I mean,
No, I
come
mean,
on.
it's the bottom of where we'd recommend you stay. There could be
Oh,
something else that's less
no, there's a
expensive.
lot worse. Trust me.
I
Yeah,
think there are that. So for
yeah.
us, we're not as familiar. So if you're familiar with your brand brands, we'd love to like get that in the comments on this going forward. If there's something that you can recommend, please do. We'll definitely look at it
Mm,
because the breakfast is great. So that's why we like it, right? We don't have to go out and eat anywhere else, and it is
Hmm.
different than most breakfasts, like at a Courtyard or Spring Hill Suites.
Well,
It's much
it's a
better than
European,
that.
yeah, it's a
Yeah, it's
European
much better
breakfast.
than that. So your options are really good.
Hmm.
The service was great. I would definitely recommend staying there.
Hmm.
Um, eh,
Yeah, no,
you
it's
could
good.
probably
They
go
have,
another
yeah.
15 minutes and stay for potentially half the cost. Maybe if you go across the
Mhm.
river another 15 minutes, you can stay to Moxie, but I'm not sure what that one's like. It's going to be less, maybe
Well,
150
you can
less a
stay at
night.
the airport. The airport hotel rates were all under
Right.
$200. I looked myself, and I know I've
Right.
stayed in those hotels
Yeah.
before, but then you have a longer
Much longer
Uber.
commute. Right.
So it's like you're paying for Uber or you're paying for hotel rooms. So
Right.
so one of the things to remember about hotels in Europe, and whenever we book over in the US, right, we know what a king is and a queen room and a double queen. But over there, their language is the same, but it means something different. So kind of double check before you book the room. I know people that have booked like twin beds, which are the like really skinny, and they call them single in Europe. Single beds. It's for one person, but you'll find when you get in the hotel room sometimes, because the rooms are so small, they have like 2 inches between them. So just be careful when if you're sharing and you're maybe going with a friend, just kind of look at that really closely. So what do we eat when we're there, Kurt? We eat good, right?
We do. I mean, schnitzel's at the top of the list, right? And sauerkraut.
Totally.
We
So
were just,
so good.
we were discussing reservations, no reservation. I think it was half and half. If you want to eat at a
Hmm.
particular time with a larger size group, get a reservation. You're not going to walk in with six people, or sometimes even four. It's probably easier with two, but you're going to be waiting anywhere you go. That's I
Typical
don't know,
city,
traditional,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
traditional German. If it's not fast food, I think one night didn't we? Did you go with me or did I go to McDonald's one night? I forget,
I
but
would definitely not be going to McDonald's. I
okay,
don't
you didn't go,
trust.
right? But whatever it was, I think we were on our own, right? I forget why. There's a shopping mall with a food court next to where we were at, so there's some really
Mhm.
great options there too, right?
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think you can eat at all different price levels. But I will say we use the Open Table app. If you guys use Open Table, it works over in Europe as well. So it's a great way to reserve. But remember, it's a city that has thousands and thousands of people attending the show. So the popular restaurants are going to get booked very, very quickly. So just bear that in mind. But lots of choices. And there's even a lot of, I don't want to say like food trucks, but there's a lot like in the center of like I don't even want to say fast food like burger places, but like little, I guess they are kind of their version of a food truck where you can go up and get whatever, right, just as fast food, and a lot of it is very, very good. So and then the other thing, of course, actually I was looking on the site, you sometimes have a choice to like rent places where they have a small kitchen and then you can bring like food back, right? So lots of different options, especially if you were to do an Airbnb or a Vrbo
right.
or something like that. So
I think the first thing you did was go to the grocery store, right? Isn't there a little grocery store right where we're
yeah,
at
there's a
too?
supermarket. Yeah, yeah. I
Hmm.
went and bought fruit. I went and bought just things that like I like every morning. But the breakfast was great too. But just things that you want to keep, in your room. Now, our rooms I know did not have refrigerator at the Moxie. Some rooms do, so that's something else to look for if you've got, I don't know, medication you want to keep and it's got to be kept in the cool. It was so cold, I kept my fresh orange juice out on the window ledge. That's what I did, and it kept my cold food. Seriously, that's exactly what I did. I had a window ledge, and that's where I kept it. So
So
anyway,
we did, we keep saying of the fast food, but at the end of the day, we did have some nice meals while
oh
we're there. At
yeah,
some point, you get tired of those types of meals, and they're not that expensive. I think
yeah,
everything's reasonably priced, excellent meals. So I think from that perspective, there's more than enough to choose from that you'll be happy with there. But
for
do some
sure.
research in advance. Somebody asked me for restaurant recommendations last year, and other than the few that we go to, we don't spend a lot of time in restaurants, right? There's maybe three meals out, and everything else is we're grabbing something while we're at the show. So it's I think now I can give those recommendations, and I'm going to ask them
Mhm.
for theirs if they have some. but don't have a lot of those. But we can definitely point you in some directions that make sense for what you're
Yeah,
looking for because we've
yeah.
tried a number of things.
So I think, talking back about the show, you are not going to leave the show once you're there because the place is so big and it does have a lot of food options. And some of them are not that bad. I mean, you can go in and get sandwiches, you can go in and get hot meals. There's some things that I've never even heard of. There's some pasta, there's some, German traditional food, there's salads and, like health bowls and things like that. And then there's, so there was plenty of choice inside all of the buildings for food, so you don't have to leave. So Kurt, talking about being back at the show, let's just start talking a little bit more about it. And what does it cost to get in? Is it expensive to go?
No, it's not real. It's not expensive at all. It's about $28 a day.
Okay, okay. But there is, I think I know last year or the last few years I've bought like a 3-day pass, and I think it's going to be a little bit more, but I was paying like maybe $60. I think next year it looks like, what did you say earlier? 80,
84. Hmm.
$84 for 3 days.
Yeah, it is
Um,
84. 84. I know we keep saying dollars, but euros. So
yeah,
84
yeah.
euros.
Yeah, so that's kind of closer, depending on the rate, to about $100 for the 3 days, which I still think, I mean, I know you go to Atlanta and Dallas and it doesn't really, well, if you're a member, it doesn't cost anything, but it's $50 a day if you go to Atlanta, right? I think,
Sure.
and
I think it's
Dallas
well worth what you're going to spend.
for sure. The other thing I've noticed is, I've been registered for several years now, as of you, but you do get invited to different webinars and things throughout the year. Now, you do have to look closely at that to see if they are translated into English, of course. But there's actually one coming up, I think, next week or the week after, that's actually about color trends. So there's some education going on throughout the year for you, all based around the show and the products and all of that good stuff. So definitely worth being like registered rather than just buying a ticket. But you buy your ticket online, you can download it into your wallet on your phone, and you just get scanned. They do a bag check when you go in. Security is pretty tight, but I mean, I think that's like generally anywhere you go nowadays, you're used to your bag being checked. So what to take in with you? You need a coat because it's cold outside, but there is places to check in coats, and there's places to check in luggage, which we've done if we're flying
We've
out
done
that same
both.
day.
Yes.
So, and it's pretty inexpensive. So, and I feel like my stuff is safe when it's checked in and you get a ticket. It's all very, very professionally done. I tend not to carry too much around with me. But if you are videoing for content and you need, I don't know, mics and sticks and things like that, just things to think about. But you can always use them and then check them in with the luggage and then get them again as many times as you want. But it is a lot of walking too, right? So,
Comfortable
um,
shoes are extremely important at the end
yeah,
of the day.
yeah. You don't. People dress business casual over there, and I would say they're better dressed than maybe how we attend things like that in the States. Wouldn't you say, Kurt?
Yes.
Um,
Everybody's
I
dressed business casual.
it's a little bit more elevated, but yeah, just definitely wear comfy shoes. Definitely, because you are going to easily hit what 15,000 steps in a day, probably maybe even more, depending on
More,
what buildings
yeah.
you're going
It
to.
just depends on how fast you move, but yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
absolutely. Hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about the show, I guess. What's some of your favorite things?
Oh gosh, I think one of the favorite things I have is where they do the themed area where they pull things from different vendors. I just
Hmm.
mentioned that particular color, but that was around a particular theme area. They brought all those colors together. It was whites and I think some sort of lavender color. Um, and I think they brought them from mechanical. So you'd see, I think there were some, oh, there was a swan that was moving, I believe.
Animated, yeah.
Animated, yes, an animated swan. There were Christmas trees. There were botanicals with that sort of color profile. Um, there was a number of things in that space that around that theme.
Mhm. I think for people to try and visualize it, it's probably about maybe an area. It's in its own area. Would you say it's probably about 150 feet by maybe 150 feet? Maybe a little smaller than that. Maybe 80 by 80. Okay, I'm not going to exaggerate, but it's an area that you get two or three top designers, European designers or world-class designers
Mm.
that go out to a lot of the vendors that exhibit there, and then they bring pieces in, and they create a design experience for you, which you can walk through. And like you said, this year it was all purples and lavenders, pastels. It was beautiful. Last year it was all greens, if you remember. The year before it was all blues.
Yes.
But it's incredible. It's somewhere where you will walk through and like be wowed, and then you will continue to go back several times each day, because from different angles you can go and you can look at it from above and look down into it. You can walk through it. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, and I would say that's probably one of my favorite too, Kurt. Not to copy you, but
Yeah. No, I mean,
it's
as far as something that
it's
stands out, visually.
magical. It's
Mhm.
it's magical what they do, and the creativity is like just off the
There's
charts
going
for
to be
me.
something creative in every booth, to be clear. I mean, I think
Yeah.
most of them do something very unusual you haven't seen before, probably. I think that's not exaggerating because they want to keep doing something elevated that's different from the year before. That's unusual. I'm sure the people that do that work recognize it maybe from times past, but they do a great job with combining those newer materials to create those looks. And I think that's what's unusual about this show that you can't see any other show, and that's
Yeah.
why I would recommend going for someone that hasn't been. I don't know that you go every year, by the way, but you may go every other year. I think Carolyn and I like to go every year, but for us, it's something to think about, right? We're not going to buy product, but we want to see what's happening. So we are going to invest in that again this year. Um, I
I
think
think actually, even if you're just in the Christmas arena, to go one time just for that experience and save up for it and do it. I've got a friend who owns an interior-scape company. He's like, that's just on my wish list. And I'm like, you just need to do it. You just one time, you just need to do it to say that you've been, whether you ever go again, right? It's kind of like going to Disney World when you're a kid. I took my kids one time. Disney's not my thing personally. My kids were like, it's great, whatever. They didn't need to go again, but everybody has their different thing. Me, I'd rather go to Christmas World every year.
sure,
So,
right. I mean, I'd like to do both, but that's probably why I enjoy going to Christmas World.
yeah.
So another area that I enjoy seeing is the commercial decor. You and I both know that until the Transworld Christmas show started, having all the vendors from around the world attend, or several from around the world attend, you could only see that at Christmas World. And so I was really amazed when I went there. You'll only see things there that that are made in Europe. You're not going to see them all in the States. Only some of that may come to the States based on the need that a customer has here, or the vendor that may be at the Christmas show at Transworld in St. Louis. Otherwise, you're not going to see it unless you're there. I mean, there's a number of vendors that have foam decor, meaning a giant pirate ship, for example, right? It's a piece of a giant pirate ship, and they make those for theme parks. There could be other types of foam items that are themed, and you're only going to see those there. I've not seen them in the States. Not that not that a show I've attended anyway.
Mhm.
Just fantastic to see, and talking to those
Mhm.
people about what it costs to bring that. I think Carol and I kind of nerd out a little bit because we want to know, like, how did you do this? How did you set up this booth? And we did see a number of people that cut back the size of their booths last year. You and I were talking about that's what did change we saw in the last few years, is that they scaled back their booths slightly, and I think they had more available space. You couldn't tell because of the way they had divided it up,
Mhm.
but I'm interested to see what's going to happen this year with the change in the tariffs, and not all that product's coming to the States. It's all, most of it's in Europe. Are they going to be buying more of that product in Europe? Or what is
Mhm.
that going to look like?
Yeah.
Um, but just beautiful pieces you wouldn't see here.
Yeah, I think one thing you talked about booth space, and we've touched on Dallas and Atlanta. The difference between them is this is a show that's set up for the 5 days. These are not storefront vendors that you're walking in and out like if you're in Atlanta, right? These are like a physical trade show fair. So they're bringing everything in, they're setting it up. But I mean, I'm not going to mention any companies' names, but there's some companies that will spend about $500,000 just to bring a booth in for 5 days. I mean, and that blows my mind, right? So I can see this year why maybe a few people scaled back on the square footage of their booth and stuff like that. For me, I don't think it didn't change my experience at all with
No,
anything,
not
because
at
there's
all.
always so much to see. And if you haven't been before, you have nothing else to compare it to anyway,
You
right?
you wouldn't
So,
have known because everybody had a presence, and so the booth may be a different size, but it had similar items or something that was elevated that's new from an interactive experience with
yeah.
lights, things that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So it was good. I mean, you saw some U.S. Importers there as well.
Oh, for
We,
sure. Yeah.
periodically we'll see that in the last 3 years we have.
Hmm.
For example, I will mention this name because we both, work with them. Twinkly Pro has, it's an Italian company. They have a booth
Hmm.
there. They'll introduce their new products at that market for that, for the European market. But it's interesting to see what they have made. And those new products will be there. And they always have a fantastic booth, same
Yeah.
size, for example, as the years before we'd seen. Um, and
Hmm.
and so that's just one example of something everyone may recognize.
Yeah, yeah. I think the other thing about going to that show is I've realized is you can once you've figured it out and you've got your book and your map and your guide which you can download on your phone, there's a lot of places you don't have to go to, right? So you're not, if you kind of like focus on where you want to go and what halls you want to go in, is it 9, 10, 11, I think, are the halls that we predominantly like stay in. You don't have to, like, you're not wandering aimlessly through things that you don't really want to, that you don't want to look at. Having said that, if you're into the design, there are a lot of companies in there that are doing faux plants and faux flowers, and the arrangements in there are second to none. I mean, you talk about
Yes,
creation
they are.
on like way up. I mean, and they put a lot of time, and the way that everything is lit is just spectacular. So I think most booths that you go to, you get an experience. And I know that, over the years I've shared a lot on my Instagram post, and hopefully we might throw a few pictures up on here, Kurt. I don't know if that's something that you can
I
edit in,
will.
but
Yes, for
I
those of
think,
you that can watch via video, that are watching this via video, you'll see those images.
yeah, I think
Um,
I think
we'll
that will be
we'll
fun. Yeah. So
we'll weave
let's
them in.
touch on, you mentioned the factories, right? And
Mhm.
one thing that we both know is there is a room or a hall or a whole floor that is dedicated to manufacturers coming out of mostly China and India. So what can we expect if we visit those floors, and why should you visit those floors?
So I know there are U.S. buyers that do buy from those floors, right? I'm
Mhm.
not a buyer in that area, but they do. So there are products there from lighting to ornaments to greenery. You'll find manufacturers from Taiwan with certain types of product, but they're going to be have high MOQs. A lot of these companies, you'll
What's an
find
MLQ?
Indian.
What's an MLQ, Kurt,
Great,
for
great
our
question.
listeners?
Minimum order quantity. So you and I both, as I've said, have never ordered from this show, but that's something you can't expect. We do have friends in the industry that do,
Hmm.
and they would definitely have some feedback. I know you mentioned that we did have feedback. I talked to someone today that said, they bought product. I think they were buying displays from different vendors, and it was an expensive proposition because they had to constantly follow up, spend their time to do that. That's not their normal business to do that sort of thing, but they wanted some product they had seen, and so they invested in that and did that. But not everybody is going to, that's not what you're looking for necessarily.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're willing to do. If you're looking for your traditional retail, the United States is going to be the best place to buy that product, probably,
Hmm.
unless you're looking for something that's unusual that you can't find here. And
Yeah.
that's the only time I might go outside of purchasing here.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think when I first went onto that area, I didn't know what to expect. And the only way that I can, like, for anybody listening or watching, it's kind of like a Moroccan marketplace, right? So you've got all these small, like maybe 10 by 15 booths, right? And they've got like a lot of stuff in there, and they've got people like trying to pull you in, right? You want to buy, we make anything for you. We make anything for you. What do you want? You want Christmas trees, you want lights, you want, pink ornaments. So you have to be careful not to get sucked into that, like like if you're a tourist on vacation, right? And people are like trying to sell you rugs or clothes or hats or whatever. So that's the feeling that it gave me. But I think after going for many years now, it's like it's something that you navigate easily. I like going onto that floor because you kind of see products that they're kind of working on, and it gives you an indication of like maybe what's coming out. And also speaking to some of them, I mean, we do order and we do have some specific pieces made. Now, I do not, I use a vendor for that, but in fact, I don't want to reach over, but I've got 4 things laying on my floor right now, which we had specifically made by a Chinese factory for decor this year. And, but there was an MLQ. I had to order, I can't remember, I think it was 4,000 of each piece because they're not going to run like a dozen units for you, right?
Right.
So it's just something to remember. But depending on what line of business you're in, it might be good for you because you're a lighting contractor and you can bring in a whole container of lights. And it just doesn't have to be the lights that you go around trees. It could be like it could be a mix of container as long as it's coming from a factory. I know sometimes some factories, if they're close together, will work together and then you can put some products from one factory on and one from another. But one thing I will say is when you do container buying, pricing is a lot less, right? So,
Right. Which you can do at every US, vendor at
oh, for
market,
sure.
right?
I mean, we can
So,
go to Bickerman. I mean, I buy
right.
containers from you all the while, so
So,
you can certainly do that for sure.
right. One
So,
of the things you can do is get inspiration there. And we've mentioned that, but
mm,
even on that floor, you can get the inspiration you're talking about and come back to your US partner like Vickerman or someone that you normally work with and say, can you get this for me or can you make this?
mm,
Because you have a trusted partner. They're going to work, from Vickerman's perspective, we're going to work with trusted manufacturers in China or wherever that product is made. And so you get, that experience, 40 years of experience working with those people. So,
it's
I
a
would
much
say be
better way to
cautious.
do it.
Right.
It's
I
a
would
much
be
better
cautious
way.
unless you're buying something that's specifically on the floor, which I've had,
Yeah,
we both have friends and customers that have done.
yeah.
That's very different than manufacturing a piece. Not to say that there's not good options there, but just be, cautious when you're making those
Mm.
decisions.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think, you mentioned talking to somebody, and we've both got lots of friends in this industry, and we both, in fact, he's your friend too. He's not just my friend, but he'll specifically go and he'll buy a certain amount of large objects from one vendor, and then he has the choice. That factory can arrange all the shipping for him, or he can arrange the shipping from the factory.
I think it's also important to mention, Caroline, that with those purchases are made by our mutual contact and friend, that he bought several containers, right, of product, at least a few, and so he's a big buyer in the market. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, Carolyn and I can talk to you about who the best people to work for are or look with
Hmm.
and work with in the industry. We can definitely help point you in those
Hmm.
directions.
Yeah, 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 for sure. You're right. I mean, some people that are watching are big buyers, and then some people, are like small. But I, I think both of our messages are, if you are passionate about Christmas decor and want to get inspiration, I think it's one of the best places to go in the world to see that outside of Atlanta or Dallas.
Absolutely.
Dallas, really. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, what's exciting now is we have 2 guests coming on the show, who are actually customers of mine out of Puerto Rico. Melanie and Adriana are with us. And they experienced Christmas World for the first time earlier this year. And we thought it would be fun to have them on the show and ask them some questions so you could hear it from somebody who went for the first time. So, anyway, excited to talk to them here right now. So, as I said earlier, we are very, very excited to have 2 special guests with us today, and it's Adriana and Melanie with Illumination Light Decor, all the way from Puerto Rico. I met these 2 lovely ladies nearly 2 years ago at Transworld, the Christmas show in St. Louis, and they actually became clients. And we started producing Christmas and shipping it to Puerto Rico, which I was very, very excited about. So, welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for your time and being with us here today.
Thank you guys
Thank you,
for
Caroline.
inviting
Thank you.
Great
us.
to have you ladies here. I think
Yeah.
it's been Christmas World when I saw you last, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, it's been a while.
A couple months.
I know.
A lot
Where's
of things
where's the
happening.
year gone? Where's the year gone? It's been
Oh
crazy.
my God, so fast, right? I haven't like recovered from Christmas last year, I think. I feel like
We
busy
never
all
stop.
year, but we're
Never
excited
stop.
for this season.
Yeah, I think we all are. With everything that's been happening this year, with the charges and the tariffs and all of that, like uncertainty, to know that it's just going to be probably pretty much another normal year is, I think everybody's very, very happy about that. So,
Yes. We're
so Kurt, you kind of mentioned the last time we both saw Adriana and Melanie was in Germany, but tell us why you guys went to Christmas World earlier this year.
We actually we wanted to go since 2020. We had tickets. We had plane tickets, hotels, everything, and then COVID hit. So we have to cancel everything. And then
we had a Christmas store, so we were going seeing new stuff for the Christmas store to bring
sell
to
here,
Puerto
like
Rico.
retail. And so COVID hit, we canceled everything. And then last year we had the opportunity like to go, and like we took that.
That's good. And one thing I meant to ask is I mentioned you guys in Puerto Rico, but tell us just a little bit about your business because I know you had your Christmas shop. You don't have it anymore. So tell us a little bit about the business that you have now.
Well, we started with Christmas on 2017 with Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico. There was a total blackout, and we brought Christmas battery and solar Christmas lights to Puerto Rico from China. Like that was a big thing over here, and we help a lot of families to celebrate Christmas with without light, and that moved us to open a Christmas store in Puerto Rico.
So sorry. So people started asking us like this, hey, I'll buy you the lights, but can you just come to my house and like decorate for me?
Yeah.
And they kept doing that for years. So we transformed the store, we sold the store, and now we do the service.
But what was a big idea was a big fast food chain called us, and they were like, oh, I know you sell lights, and can you come to our fast food and decorate it? And we're like, you know what? There's churches calling us to decorate, families calling us to decorate. Now a fast food chain, I think this is a business. Like we can sell the store and do installation. A need. We discover a need.
That's fantastic. Can you give us an idea of, do you do more residential or commercial properties?
Well, I'm doing a pitch, so I know it's 67% residential. And that for me was surprising because I thought more commercial were going to have the need. And now I know residential is a big thing over here.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What type of businesses, what type of commercial, you mentioned fast food restaurants, what other type of commercial businesses have you been selling Christmas to? I'm just kind of curious.
We decorate banks, we decorate hotels,
like ports, like cheap boats.
Yes, we do a Puerto Rico museum over here. The outside, we do the lights for them and the trees. What else? We do
labs,
like
a big lab that is open 24 hours.
Yeah.
So they went big.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's great. Is there a particular type of property, commercial property you like working with? I know you mentioned hospitality, but is it restaurants? What do you like doing? What's easier to do, or what do you prefer doing or enjoy more?
I'll prefer like the straight structures that here in Puerto Rico are not that common. But yeah, that's what I prefer. Like since I'm the one up there.
Yeah, I'm the creative, so I like everything. I love the challenge.
Okay, got it.
You like the sale, right?
Yes.
Not the execution.
Big building? Perfect. I'm going to do a Merry Christmas, 40 feet Merry Christmas. Yes, we can do it.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like the sale, but not the execution. So I get that. I get that. So yeah, So just going back to Germany, so you bought tickets. So really, I guess, you didn't go in 2020, but what motivated you with your business changing from storefront to, commercial and high-end residential? What motivated you to go, like, what was your motivation to visit, like, earlier this year?
I mean, for me, it was like inspiration and also like a bucket list. Like, if you love Christmas, you have to go like where's the cool stuff and the new stuff. So I wanted to have it like check on the bucket list. Like,
Yeah, because the year before we went to Transworld,
yeah,
and
where we met,
we wanted to have the experience to go to Europe.
because we love like the Transworld. We love
loved
that
it.
one.
Yeah.
It's a really cool and helpful show.
So
Mhm.
what
there.
stood out to you guys the most when you got? I know you were there 3 days, but what kind of like just jumped out? Something you weren't expecting?
Well, for me was like the lobby entrance on the middle where they use different vendors and they do the display, the holiday display using different elements, but with one theme and one color. For me, that was amazing. Like using all the resources they have at hand and creating that beautiful wow display. That was amazing for me.
You're talking about the lavender and the pink one, right?
Yes, it was so beautiful. Like they're not that Christmassy colors, but that opens you.
It looks like super like 2030s.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. We were actually saying earlier in the podcast, that's kind of our first port of call when we get there, just to see what the inspiration is. Every year it's like, and then you kind of you keep going back over those days that you're there because, you see it from different angles and you see different things every time, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. Not that Christmassy and the colors, but it was wow for me. Amazing.
Yeah. So, one thing that we were talking about earlier in the podcast is kind of pre-planning and all of that good stuff. How far did you guys like plan in advance? Like as far as, I don't know what travel from Puerto Rico is like, or, if you could fly straight from there to Europe, but did you plan like your travel like a few weeks in advance or many months in advance? How did that work for you?
No, we actually planned this one since October. I mean, I think it was earlier, but we bought the tickets in October.
Okay.
Probably September. We were already like thinking about it, but we bought everything in October.
Okay. And I know you ended up staying at the same hotel as, myself, and Kurt sometimes stays there too. So that worked out really well because we kind of buddied up with everything, right?
Yes, it's a great hotel. We have used that brand before, so we were like, okay, let's just go to that one because we have used it and it's good. And with your recommendation, like
it's a great location. It's on a mall, so it was great for us to go to the supermarket, the stores. It was amazing.
And we tried the place that the schnitzel place.
Oh, Conrad restaurant, the authentic German plate schnitzel. Thanks to you guys. That was amazing. I had to go back and eat it again. It was so good.
There was definitely good food choices around, right?
Yes. And it's a like small ride, taxi ride, or Uber ride to the show.
That's true.
Yeah. What did you think about like the pricing, like the Uber pricing and restaurant and hotel pricing? Did you think it was pretty reasonable, or is it what you expected? Or I'm just trying to get the viewers and listeners to get a feel of what to expect when they get there.
Can we say the name of the hotel?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Okay, it was Moxie Hotel, and they're part of the brand of Marriott. And I think it's very expensive in Germany.
That area there is
because
expensive.
In New York, that's the hotel we use in New York. We love going to New York, and that's our favorite hotel. And it's not that expensive in New York, but in Germany, wow, it was high ticket.
Yeah, it was. I think I ended up paying like maybe 400 euros a night. And it is a pretty basic hotel as far as the rooms go. I mean, they're very clean, they're very modern, very small bathrooms. what I personally like about it, and I think Kurt, you'd probably agree, is the free breakfast it came with, which
Yes, absolutely.
It was good. I loved the location, everything. The only thing we didn't like it was just the mattress. But if you're just looking for comfort,
If
you're
you
good.
don't care about that, okay. But for me, my back hurt because it's like an orthopedic hard mattress, and it was kind of, for the price, I was like, not that comfortable mattress.
Yeah, but separate from that, I think it was
I
great.
loved it. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
appreciate that feedback for everyone that's listening. I think that we were talking before you joined, and the Moxie was probably the least expensive option for us.
Yes.
Because it was 350 euros or so. I don't know what it was exactly when we booked it, but everything else was more expensive than that. And so it was more comparable to a $200 a night or less, maybe here in the US. That's how it, like a Spring Hill Suites or a Courtyard by Marriott, something like that. The beds aren't necessarily comfortable. They're not. And they were hard. I recall, I think I was so tired that it didn't matter as much, but the longer you stay in that space, and I think you guys did come in beforehand and stay a little bit right before and explored. We'd also talked about that before you ladies joined. Is do you have a recommendation coming early, staying late? Is there anything you would recommend?
Well, you're doing the trip, it's a long flight. I would recommend if you're doing the
Why not?
investment, come on, stay 2 days, 3 days.
You can
and
sightsee like Frankfurt. You can walk. It's beautiful to walk during the day. Also during the night is beautiful. Like
I love the supermarket and buying all the fresh fruits. Oh my God, that was great for me.
Yeah.
It's amazing
I
variety.
mean, the water was good.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
plenty of options of waters. Like it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Now, you actually extended your trip, and that was something we were talking about earlier in the show too. You extended your trip. Tell us where you went off to after you left Germany.
We were so tired that we said, we deserve a little splurge, and we traveled
went 4 days to
Milan.
To Milan.
Just
How was that? Fun?
Eat gelato, eat
Desserts.
chocolate dessert, amazing. A little wine. It was
We go back to the hotel or the Airbnb, and we just went to sleep back.
Yeah, over
Just
there we
chill.
stayed at an Airbnb. It was amazing.
Okay. Yeah. I think the whole point of asking you that really was, a lot of people may find that, the cost of going over there can be quite costly. So like, what are your other choices? Like, I always go home to England because it's a short flight to me once I'm over there. Kurt went on to Switzerland. He went skiing I think the year before. You went somewhere else. I can't remember, but
I
somewhere.
think the year before I came straight home.
Oh, okay. Well, I know you've often done a trip afterwards.
Yes,
so
I have. Yes.
I think if listeners haven't traveled to Europe before, and I'm sure many have, but the ones that haven't, that it is very easy to like extend your trip, even though it's winter, and do not expect warm, sunny weather. There's still some really amazing things that you can do, whether it just be like locally around Frankfurt, or whether you go further afield in Germany, or like you said, you went to Italy, which is fantastic, or everywhere's so easy to get to. It's like an hour and a half flight, right? So
I want to add that traveling inside the European Union, it's cheaper, like to travel from Germany to Milan or any part of, or Madrid in Spain. It's not that expensive to do it.
Yeah.
It's not very expensive. It isn't.
I think if you're like make a trip out of it, and then you can work and you can take a days off, like that's a win-win.
Yeah. So let's just go back to the show, because that's what we really should be talking about. But I mean, giving people other ideas, I think, is good. So tell us the highs and lows of being at Christmas World.
Well,
The only bad is for me was like is big, is
overwhelming.
enormous, and you have to be with somebody that knows so you can move and take advantage of it, because it's 5 days. If you don't know nothing, it's not enough.
How many days would you recommend for somebody new going?
For us, because we weren't going with a mind of buying, I think the 3 days we went just to learn and to walk and to know
But
where everything,
that was because we were with you guys
yeah,
also. Because if we
also,
were alone, I think we should have been there the 5 days and take it like easy, because it's overwhelming.
yeah, if we go
It's a lot.
again, but to buy, I think we're going to go all the days the show it's open, and just buy with an open mind and, you know, slow
Make right
pace to make the
decisions.
right
Because
decisions.
with the emotions, you can go crazy too.
Yeah.
You see those big things.
It's true. It is very overwhelming when you first go there because the place is so vast, and of course, not everything there is Christmas, right? You have to like
Yeah,
like figure it out. And we totally enjoyed, especially that first day meeting and spending that day together and kind of showing you the pieces to miss and the pieces to go to was good. But I think the second day it seemed like every time we saw you, you had a plan of action, and
yeah,
you were
because
always taking great content for Instagram and all of that good stuff.
exactly, we want to create content for our audience and our clients, and
And making contacts also, that was the point, one of the points to go there, like to make the relationship beforehand of whatever we need in the future
with the factories and the vendors, and know them and have the emails or phone numbers. Networking was the plan.
Yeah.
So as you guys are talking, I'm thinking there's so many vendors, they're so far flung. Is there some that you'd recommend that a new buyer go to in the holiday space?
I mean, I think FDS was like
Amazing.
We love it. We love the service, the white glove, the outfits, the ambient, the DJ.
You
like,
can
what?
feel you felt VIP, and comes with the quality of their pieces, of the art they
Yes.
do for Christmas. It's amazing. The other company that stand out
Oh,
for
the
us
Indian one.
was the Indian one. I don't know the name.
It's surreal. I think it's surreal.
I remember those that had
they
all of the mosaic stuff.
The last day.
They
Yes.
do glass blown art, flowers with hand hammered metal. Oh my God,
That was cool.
that's art. That's art.
It was beautiful. We spent some time there. I think, remember the last afternoon we were there, and I had seen them in previous years, and they do ship. And I think that's the other thing. Some people don't ship to the US right now, but some do, right? So
They do.
Yeah.
it's
When we talked and we were interested, they were like into like shipping. They were excited actually. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, Puerto Rico, like let's
There
go.
was
you-
another Italian.
how did you feel with the, like obviously everybody had like separate booths in different areas. Did you feel that you were always being sold to, or did you feel like it was a relaxed kind of environment where nobody was like too pushy?
No, I felt
No,
really
good.
comfortable and relaxed. Didn't feel busy.
I think in the last part that we went, like all the gift bags and the paper, they're like more alone, so they're like more like asking you to come see their stuff. But I mean, that's why you go there, right? They know and we know.
Yeah.
So no, not at
I
all.
think if we had the store still, it would be harder to decide to what vendor to buy, because I think having store is different than having a service company. So I think the people that have store,
It's more
it's
like
a hard
for
work.
suppliers that for installers. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there, because a lot of people are buying for retail. Wouldn't you
Yes.
agree, Kurt? And I don't know
Oh,
what
absolutely.
that percentage is. And then you do get companies like yourself that are like service providing, and needing those special big custom quality pieces. Yeah, if I was buying retail, yeah, that would be hard. It's
Hard,
kind of like
but-
going to Dallas or Atlanta and trying to figure out that
Yeah.
you've got to be very very prepared and organized to do that, I think.
Yes.
For sure.
But the trends are amazing. To get ideas there, if you
Yes.
have a store, it's amazing.
Mhm.
But if you don't have a store and you do service, I would suggest starting with Transworld if you're in the US.
Yes.
It's
It's a great
amazing.
option.
It's smaller. The vendors are right there, and you have the great options in a smaller space, smaller scale.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it sounds like you don't regret going to either, right?
No,
No,
no.
not at all. I think
That's
it's
great to hear.
more than like how do you say that? Like the more like we learn,
The
the
knowledge.
is priceless.
Yeah, you can put a price on knowledge. It opens your mind. Maybe right now we're not buying, but maybe in next year or 2 years, we know what telephone to call to need exactly that piece that we need. So, the knowledge is great to have it. We see it as a good investment for us.
Good. So I have a question about, I know you've mentioned the trends, the designs. Do you feel like you're going to be able to implement any of those into your designs this year, or did it help you in that way?
And then this year, like, yeah, I think it helps. Like, cause I don't see that. Like, my limit is not here anymore. It's like, okay, like the bar is like, I can bring this stuff to Puerto Rico. Like, that's amazing. Let me just work on that. Like, for example, I love the deer face. Do you remember the Indian deer face?
It was
Yes,
it was
yes.
a deer, but it was like the neck and the face, and that's it.
Like,
All with
I'm bringing
crystals.
that this year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Very different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna impact not as much as we want right now, but yeah, I'm working that direction. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I think that's cool for people that are listening and like, do we go? Because you ask anybody in this business, everybody wants to go, right? Because it's like the biggest Christmas show in the world, but not everybody has the opportunity. So it's like, if you're not going there to buy and you're going there for inspiration, how does that change? How does that change your company from what you bought back? And for you, obviously, it's education, it's inspiration, and it should elevate your company and what you're offering, right? To set you apart from competitors in your marketplace.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So so again, what would be the downsides? I mean, we've talked about how big the place is, and it's a little confusing. You get you can get lost there very quickly. But are there any other kind of bad things you could think about, or negative things about what you noticed there?
If I have to say a big one, maybe just the food. But I mean, get used to it. Just grab something and just keep chopping.
Now, the food in the building for the show, you mean, or the food in general?
Inside the show. Maybe the one that I tried. I didn't have a great experience with the food, but apart from that, I enjoy everything. I kept giving circles and watching, like, keep going to the same places that I like pieces, to keep watching, like, dreaming of them in Puerto Rico. So
I would say we had an advantage because we were with you guys. Not everyone is gonna have you guys as as guides during the show. So I would say like a better map explaining where everything is, or maybe it's that I didn't see it because I had you guys, and I was like, okay,
there was a map.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
but there's a lot of information, right? You can see it in one dimension, but when you're there, there's so much going on. I mean, we could drag you where we wanted you to go next because we're so excited to go see some of those things. You mentioned one of the areas, between the buildings where they had the huge space with the lavender and pink
The
display. And we talked about that before you guys joined. And it was one of the things that was a highlight for us, how they combined all those different elements from different vendors. And so, we drug you there. Right? When we saw it our first time, it was full of blue, wasn't it, Caroline? I think we mentioned that too.
Blue. Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly, finding all those things and understanding what it means faster is something I think you can gain when you're with somebody that has been there before. It does help.
Yeah.
Exactly. Help a lot.
Yeah, if not 5 days is not enough. Maybe like a week, yes, because it's a lot.
I don't know. I think after you go like the second time, I feel like that 3 days is generally, I've done it for 2, and that just isn't enough because, that end of that second day, you're kind of panicked, like, oh my goodness, I have to run here and I have to run here. But the reality, I think, personally for me, what would you say, Kurt? 3, 4?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's 2.5 So I think
Two and a
we've done
half
it
years.
for 2, and I've done it for potentially a little bit longer, but I think for me 2.5 if you're not buying. If you're buying, I agree, you've got to go as long as it's going to take. If you're prepared for your particular buy and who you're going to visit and you have your appointments, go longer if necessary.
Mm.
If you're buying, you're not going to look at as much probably as we do, and you're going to stay with those vendors you're buying from. So you won't see as much if you go for 2.5 days. If you want to see more outside of your buy, then you go longer.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think your first time it's 2.5, it's 2.5 days. Makes sense.
And the other thing, and I don't know the answer to this because I've never been there till the very end, but I wonder if there are deals to be made, because there's a lot of show specials, right? People want to sell, what they've made, or showing off at the show. I wonder if there are like end of show deals or something. I'm not sure. Do you know, Kurt? Or
No, I
Yeah,
don't, but I'm curious.
I
I know
think
a number of the commercial vendors don't have prices on their items, and they'll give you the price afterwards. And I'm not sure why, other than maybe they don't want to compete with somebody that can build it similarly. But I think that was unusual for us while we were there. Some like FDS doesn't have prices on their products, and some of the other vendors that are similar didn't as well. Did y'all run into that, or have you gotten prices or
Yes,
more
it was
information
hard.
after the show that would help you?
Yeah, it was hard, like getting the prices of the pieces, but I think it's like they want to engage and they want to talk to you, so they can give you some prices. So yeah, but it was hard to get those prices, but
did you
so. I'm
find
wondering.
did the vendors follow back up with you once you were back home? Did you find that they followed up?
Yes,
yes,
yes, they did.
yes.
Okay, good, good.
Everything that I'm interested in,
They did.
we have been talking.
Good, good.
No, that's really good. I don't know. Do you have any other questions, Kurt? Or
So I will summarize what we've talked about, but before we do that, I'm just curious, how's your year going? How has tariffs impacted your business and your imports you're getting from the US? How's that look?
Yes.
Well, we are scared buying from China because when we had the store, we lost.
We lost a whole container.
Yes.
ouch.
So we're now buying from the US and doing. Maybe it's more expensive, but we have. We sleep better. You can say it like that.
Sure.
So for now, we're just being
The scale we are, I think we're good buying from the West still.
right now we're good buying to the US, yeah. And
Good.
for now we use the Christmas in July promo to open our
Schedule?
our calendar for our clients, and we has been just receiving the 50% deposits.
Since
Good.
July, so
Yeah.
that's good.
That's great to hear.
It looks like it's going to be a good year. That's what I was going to say. So are you hoping for growth this year, or are you trying not to grow too quickly? What's your kind of business plan for that?
Let's talk a little bit about the last 2 years. The first year we only did 10. No, we counted last night.
10
10 clients. Last year we did 50 clients. So
Wow.
That's fantastic.
it's a big growth for us. So we're trying to, wiggle it and do maybe double this year.
Wow. They're taking over
yeah, we
Puerto
have
Rico.
Clients this
90
year.
to 100.
Yeah.
We're like putting that goal right up there.
Well, you know where to get product if you need it. Just
Of course, we have that. Of course.
You've got 2 people here that are happy to help you. Or if I don't have it, I'll help you find what you're looking for.
Yeah,
That's going to
and
be
me too. And me too. All you have to do is call. We can help you source. Having said that, with you being at Christmas World and Trans World, I think where the next thing is we have to get you to go is we need to get you to go to one of the either Dallas or Atlanta markets. That may be
True.
your next thing that you need to visit.
We want to visit in the Texas one, so we can do
Meet you.
seasonscapes.
So yeah, so that will be January. We need to get those dates over to you so you can kind of start planning. But that would be a great one for you to come to. I mean, Kurt, because they're so different to the other 2 shows, right? So
They are very different. I think you have to look at timing of those shows because I think the first one in Dallas is the 7th of January, the first day. It is over 7
Hard for us.
days or so.
Is like when we have the removals.
Removal.
So,
yeah.
but we can work something out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is takedown for you guys. And even Atlanta, which is the following week, you're still going to be taking down. And I think a lot of people, especially in the heavy lighting side, that can be very difficult,
Yeah.
like a challenge for you because you are
Yeah.
still taking down.
Yeah,
So,
but hopefully the plan is like I can miss 1 week of removals and just visit. Maybe not this year, but maybe the next one. Maybe we can have some days off and just go there. Some
Yeah.
days slow.
Yeah. Well, as you grow your client, as you grow your company, and you're bringing in a bigger infrastructure of team members, then you can kind of delegate, right, and be at the end of a call if there's issues. So,
Of course.
That's the biggest goal, like to have like a solid crew.
I think that's every company's growing pain, right? I mean,
Absolutely, it is.
staffing. I mean, I don't know how it is in Puerto Rico, but even with us, even now, we have the same people. We have full-time staff, and then we have a lot of the same people come back every year. But every year we grow, so then we're looking for temps that we can train. Staffing is always a challenge.
It is. So yeah, that's the goal, like to retain employees.
Yeah.
So crew, like solid.
That could be another whole podcast, I think. There's an idea.
Oh, it is. I think so, and it's probably a good idea to ask. How did it go this
For
season?
sure.
We'd love to hear.
Like the employments, like to retain them, and actually like is harder because it's a seasonal job. So we're increasing now, like to landscape lighting, structural lighting, actually.
But we can talk it in another podcast.
Yes, sorry.
I think it would be a great. And now let me ask you this. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. Are there any other topics that you'd like to hear us talk about on the podcast?
Oh, wow. You should.
I did put them on the spot, huh, Kurt?
You did. No, I know that's probably an very big open end. So I'll try to bring it down to something a little more direct. Are there any other organizations in the U.S. or that you guys belong to that you'd recommend to other designers and similarly positioned in the industry doing commercial residential work?
We have our mentor. We have our mentor.
He's great.
He's great. He's Latin like us, not from Puerto Rico. He's from Venezuela, but lives in Miami for many years.
Yeah.
And he's the one that opened our mind. We had the idea of doing service like we talked in the beginning, but he was our,
Yeah, just don't be a simple star. Like bring it big. Like there's people that want like magic bring to their homes. Like you can do luxury premium service. So
he's our biggest level. Here's our biggest cheerleader, right?
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
his name is
having that mentor is important, or that education, additional education.
Having that mentor that believes in you and cheers you up when things are hard. It's
people
so
like
important.
You also like
Caroline too.
Everybody's part. Like so, just make networking, connect with people. And if they love Christmas, like that's a great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, obviously, if there's somebody else you need to get connected with, we can help you do that too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I always say it. There's enough business to go around for everybody, and if you are passionate enough about what you do, it comes out in how you relate to your clients and how you get sales. And it's contagious, right? And I truly believe when you give to people, you get back. And I've mentored many, many people over the years. And I do it not selfishly at all because I want to see other companies grow. I'm just that passionate about it. So, and you'll be doing the same thing to future people.
That's a lesson I learned last year because I was worried about competition over here. And you know what? At the end of the season, I was like,
we had a call with Caroline.
Yeah, we had a call with Caroline. we had so many people that wanted our service and we couldn't fit them to our agenda. That was like why I was so worried, so nervous. And look, now I have so many calls and I cannot give them the service this
No,
year.
actually, now
I wasn't ready.
Now I see it like if I have a client that I don't fit my, my vision or like the budget or whatever is the thing, like I can refer like to, hey, there's
To another
this
company.
and they can maybe make your house.
They could be a better fit.
I think you should make not necessarily, deep friendships, but I think you certainly should network with your competition because, like you said, I think you can do things that they can't do and vice versa. And I think you both can encourage each other to grow your business, especially it's somewhere like Puerto Rico, which is not that big, and everybody knows each other, right? So it's important to have a relationship with them.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic you're doing that. I mean, sticking with your model and not going outside of it, it's going to help you make money and not be frustrated doing business in this industry from my perspective. So I think that's a great decision on your part. I'm sure your mentor helped you with that too.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's probably it. We have just really appreciated your time on here today. It's always so great to see your beautiful smiling faces, and I cannot wait to see what this season is like for you guys. I love, like speaking to people in January or February and going, how was your season and how was it? And hopefully we'll all be growing this year, right? So but yeah, thank you so much for your time. I know I appreciate it. I know Kurt did. And
absolutely, ladies. Thank you so much. It's good to see you again, and hopefully we can see you back in 26 again. If I don't think I'm going to make it to Puerto Rico, unfortunately. It's going to be a busy second half of the year, but I wish we could have. But definitely look forward to seeing you next year.
Yes.
Thank you guys for having us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And yes, let's make that trip to Puerto Rico in the low season, but let's make that happen.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm
Let's do it.